Welcome to GovFocus. I'm Sarah Seibert, Managing Editor at GovCIO Media and Research, and joining me today are Sherry Pascoe, Director of NIST National Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, and Kynan Carver, Cybersecurity Vice President at Maximus. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thanks, Sarah. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so throughout the conversation, we'll discuss how evolving standards, AI-enabled threat detection, edge computing, and model context protocol are transforming the ways that agencies secure models, connect systems, and modernize defenses. To kick things off, I'd like to learn more about how threats are transforming as technology becomes more sophisticated. So, Sherry, starting with you, what are some of the emerging threat areas you're tracking as AI gains momentum?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah, for the question. And really, it is a pleasure to be able to talk about this topic today. What we're tracking at the NCCOE based off of discussions with stakeholders across industry, across government agencies, is truly that advancements in AI are bringing, both new cybersecurity opportunities as well as presenting some new risks. And from a risk perspective, what we're hearing is that AI systems are introducing kind of new and novel attack surfaces. And that includes things like, the AI systems themselves, their supply chains, as well as their data. And as we know, kind of AI behavior it's highly contextual, it's highly dynamic, it's harder to predict, which could make it harder to secure. And on the identity side, what we're seeing is kind of an increase in identity-related risks, including spoofing, kind of going around identity proofing systems, deep fakes, kind of enhancements to phishing campaigns. We're also, with respect to identity, really looking at emerging research around kind of agentic AI and how AI can be used to access kind of and control sensitive data as well as systems. And as AI is able to gain access to more information, as well as, take actions to automatically act on behalf of humans, we're looking at ways that we can standardize the ways to identify, kind of authenticate, and audit AI agents and their actions. But overall, I'm a big optimist, and what we're hearing widely from stakeholders is, despite some of these challenges, AI is, of course, offering a lot of opportunities for cybersecurity and for cybersecurity professionals. And we're seeing more organizations use AI for things like compliance and governance through kind of use in threat detection and helping to improve your incident response, kind of adversarial training. We're really interested in how AI can be used in secure software development and use. We've got a great project at the NCCOE focused on kind of demonstrating the use of the NIST SSDF and how AI can help kind of organizations to securely develop and use software. So overall, really excited about how AI can offer new capabilities for cybersecurity, and really listening to stakeholders on where NIST can help to continue to develop new guidance to be able to support that innovation.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive more into that, and thanks for setting the scene. Kynan, is there anything that you would like to add or things that you're tracking?
Yeah, let me just build on that. I mean, we're seeing a dramatic increase in the speed of exploitations, right? And so that's part of our adversaries using AI, and part of that is essentially the velocity of how these adversaries are bringing new 0 days into the market. And that's kind of where I think where, from a cyber defense, from an operation defense, like that's where we're excited, right? We're just looking for that AI integration into our tools, right? So that's into our SOAR itself, so that way we can start addressing some of those alert fatigues, but also, again, with that adversary exploitation increasing, like we need to start looking, how do we expedite our operational cells in a way that makes it more efficient and more, not just efficient, but cost effective, right? So yeah, this is all very exciting, and developments as AI comes into the federal space on a grander scale.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Sherry, I'd like to turn it back to you. So you mentioned that you're an optimist when it comes to AI, and it is balancing risk with some of the challenges that we've been seeing or threats, I should say. So how can agencies protect themselves against some of these emerging threats that you mentioned, including digital identity posed by AI agents?
Yeah, so I mentioned we've been working quite a bit with the community. We're focused on one of the efforts that we have at the NCCOE around the area of cybersecurity and AI is the development of what we're calling the NIST Cyber AI Profile. So it's a piece of guidance tailored off of the NIST Cybersecurity framework to help organizations think about how to leverage AI within their kind of cybersecurity risk management strategies. And one of the things that we have heard from the community, and it shows up quite prominently in the recently released draft of this profile, is that the cybersecurity fundamentals still matter, but as Kenan still said, there's still a need to increase efficiency. There's still some specifics that might need to be adapted to the realities as well as the speed of AI. And so the draft cyber AI profile is currently out for comment. We're looking for kind of feedback from the community about how we can continue to improve it and build on it. But it does try to pull some lessons learned across, the NIST cybersecurity framework from 853, from the AI RMF, from a number of different industry and standards, organizations, resources around cybersecurity and AI. And overall, there's definitely some priorities that organizations can take as they're thinking about these challenges. For me, one of the top considerations is around governance and really integrating AI systems into your kind of governance and risk and control frameworks. That's really important. You mentioned kind of identity. Identity is always a key consideration for cybersecurity and a growing one. Ensuring that you're prioritizing, identity and access control, things like phishing resistant MFA, continuing on our kind of zero trust journeys. These are all priorities that are outlined kind of within the NIST Cyber AI profile, and we'll continue to kind of build on those recommendations as we continue to work with the community.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned governance, dealing with some of identity management in that as well. Would you say those are the key changes that have come out of the Cyber AI profile, or what are some of the newer updates in the profile that's out for comment that's different from, when NIST's cybersecurity framework was first released?
Yeah, I don't know that I would say that it's different, but we're certainly trying to provide much more specific guidance that fits within the context of cybersecurity and AI. So really kind of leveraging these existing resources and pulling information together, kind of using the common taxonomy that's found within the NIST cybersecurity framework. So for some subcategories and categories of the framework, you'll see in the profile, we actually say cybersecurity fundamentals are still important for this subcategory. For others, throughout the profile, we'll have more specific guidance that's tailored for these new challenges. And that's an area where, over the next few weeks and months, we're going to be working with the community to really, to your point, Sarah, try to understand, what are the guidance that's needed, and perhaps maybe where are some of the gaps that might exist where new guidance is needed.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing how that evolves. And then, Kynan, I'd like to turn it over to you. So, Model Context Protocol. Uh, it's been described as a universal adapter that lets AI systems interact with external tools and real-time data. So, how do you see MCP shaping the way that federal agencies integrate AI into mission workloads without relying on some of those custom one-off integrations?
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, so well, the way I see the MCP, it's kind of like the USB-C,
Mhm.
adapter you have on your phone. It just becomes obligatory, right? It becomes necessary. So, whenever you're connecting your AI model into your various data sources, traditionally you have to write custom code, like blueware, if you will, to kind
Mhm.
of access that information and give that to the AI model to process. Where NCP really allows you to do that extraction layer, right? It actually prevents or allows the reduction of vendor lock-in of your particular AI model, right? And that's really important as the federal government is rolling into the AI models and as the models change with the course of time. MCP allows you to have that extraction layer, and again, allows for you to send information into the MCP server. Then the MCP server connects to the AI agent, but feeds in content. It allows for a more secure connection in regards to what information you're giving access to that AI model. So there's like a governance model, if you will,
Right.
a process, if you will, within the MCP. And I think that's just very important as we're going forward, right? It's not just their technical standards, right? Like it's all about interoperability strategy that prevents the federal government from just being locked in, like I said, into one particular model. And I think that's really important as time goes on and you see the federation of these models in the space.
Yeah, definitely. And Sherry, I know that NIST is also experimenting with AI internally. So, what are some of the use cases NIST is exploring with AI, and what lessons learned have emerged from those pilots?
Yeah, so we have a number of cybersecurity and AI projects at the NCCOE. I mentioned, the development of the NIST Cyber AI Profile, which is going to be a great guidance document. Working with the community, we're also working with a number of different technology vendors focused on how to use AI to securely develop software and use software as part of our DevSecOps demonstration project. One of our internal projects is what we've called the NCCOE chatbot. This is a internal chatbot where kind of we're using retrieval augmented generation to provide answers to questions through the chatbot that's informed by the past 10 years of NIST NCCOE cybersecurity publications. So the product itself is cool, the ability to search across NIST cybersecurity publications. I could see in the future how this chatbot could help to inform, the future publications that we develop to ensure greater consistency, in the work that we're doing. If we ever decide to release it publicly, I could see it being valuable for organizations to also be able to search across the many NIST cybersecurity publications. But overall, the reason that we built this chatbot and this tool is because we knew that we were going to be developing a lot more guidance and guidelines in the area of cybersecurity and AI, and our team wanted to learn. Right, we wanted to build the tool ourselves so that we can understand it fully, and I believe that will position us better as we take on future demonstration projects, as we continue to build in our DevSecOps work, as we continue to launch, new kind of demonstration project focused in the with respect to agentic AI. We'll continue to use that chatbot kind of as foundational infrastructure to be able to support, our future work.
Yeah, that's funny when you said if we ever release it publicly, when you were describing it earlier, I was like, oh, I would love to search through that. That sounds super helpful. So, Kynan, as we talk about
Mhm.
applications, AI applications, how is AI at the edge transforming speed and accuracy of threat detection and automated response across federal agencies?
Yeah, so AI at the edge really gets at the whole latency issue, right? So if you're trying to process information, again, from an operational perspective at the edge, right? Having AI there within that residence really allows for sub-second determinations of what you're trying to get at or use AI for. Also, allowing AI to be basically that intelligence at the edge just really emphasizes our ability to start processing like sensor information in real time, right? But if we get disconnected from the cloud, it's still operational, and I think that's really important, right? Like as we're trying to get these models more intelligent and more useful in the cybersecurity space in regards to operation, we really will start seeing, that edge being extended, right? So the closer you can process information at the event itself, the more real time actions you can take. So with that, you don't necessarily need to go back to this. If, for example, the SIM or the SOAR, right? If the AI is intelligent enough and you've put in the right workflows, you can make determinations on that information at that moment, opposed to again waiting for that decision to come through those applications or services. Not to say those are slow, but like again, the closer you can bring that data processing to the tactical edge, if you will, the better it is to have those quicker response times.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'd like to stick with you. So, what are some of the best practices that agencies should follow to secure those models and data when the compute happens outside of that core environment?
Yeah, so I think there's three things, right? One is model integrity, two is securing the environment, and three is continuous monitoring. So model integrity. So essentially, you're going to start using cryptographic signatures to sign the actual model, so that way, if it's ever breached or if something's wrong, you can start looking at that. In regards to securing the environment, you want to start looking at running the model in a trusted execution environment. So that's your TEE to isolate AI processing. And then three, the continuous monitoring, that's your model ops, right? So that's detect drift or degradation in the accuracy of the real time. So that's really important. So back to Cherie's, comment about governance, like that's really where it starts coming into play, right? So if you build those all up and you put that in your governance standards, the more efficient and the more that you can rely on these AI models for not being compromised.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think as we've all seen, AI, even just over the past year, has changed so much and advanced so much. Because it's evolving so quickly, standards might not exist right now. So as this tech is developing, Sherry, how can agencies adopt or tailor existing standards to address some of these new threats that are coming?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. And being at NIST, we truly believe that standards are so important. They are fundamental to cybersecurity. We also know that they can take a long time to develop, and AI is definitely evolving faster than traditional standard cycles. And so this is a new paradigm for NIST, to keep pace with as well, just as how organizations today are trying to keep pace with the change in the technology landscape. There are a significant number of standards development efforts that are occurring right now around the world within the area of cybersecurity and AI. But as I mentioned earlier, I still believe that traditional cybersecurity standards are still valuable and they're still applicable here. We've got a lot of guidance in the cybersecurity space, things like we talked about, the NIST cybersecurity framework, 853, the NIST AI RMF. They all help organizations to think strategically and make informed decisions about how AI fits, within your mission, within your cybersecurity requirements. Of course, there's going to need to be some specific considerations as we move forward, which is why, I mentioned we're focused on, developing a community profile based off of the CSF 2.0, the Cyber AI profile. We've kicked off a community effort to look at 853 baselines focused on generative AI and agentic AI. And kind of as those community efforts kind of unfold, that might identify, new gaps that are not addressed by those frameworks. And that will help to really create the roadmap for us to, develop new guidance, or even create some updates to those kind of underlying foundational cybersecurity frameworks.
Right. Yeah, that's exciting. And then, Kynan, I'll turn it over to you. So we've talked a lot about the shifts in threat detection, identity challenges, edge computing. How are some of these trends reflective in the broader landscape of federal tech, and what's next for you?
Yeah, I mean, just like zero trust, right? We were trying to pivot from a defensive to a proactive defense posture, and I think AI in combination with ZTA and like Sherry said, like all of those standards that NIST is producing will help us achieve that, right? So the more that we can proactively get at, these vulnerabilities using AI to, before even the vulnerability hits, using AI to actually go check our systems for those vulnerabilities, the better we can get at the issue of being secure, right? So, and I think that's ultimately what we're trying to accomplish in the cybersecurity space. And I echo Sherry's comments about, AI doesn't necessarily replace good cyber hygiene and good cyber practices. Those are still fundamental and necessary for us, not only to, prosecute the operation, but also to maintain standardization across the federal government as these technologies are fully implemented.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And I appreciate both of you coming and chatting more about what's changing. I feel like every time I have an AI and cyber conversation, something new is happening. So thank you both for taking the time. It was great to learn more, and we'll have to catch up soon.
Sounds great.
Thank you.